This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9. ARRL NTS nightly at 6:30 p.m. W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
And does anyone need to use a repeater before we begin tonight's Skynet? This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Tom. I'll be your net control station for this session of the DRC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purposes are to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break very enthusiastically in your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net, therefore please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me this evening, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of their transmissions. This weekly net operates on this frequency with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using W5SC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topic, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Just go to the club website, which is whiskey5friedchicken.org right now for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome, and you need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate this evening. The net is approximately 90 minutes long, give or take. We have general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society, discussion topic of the evening, what's up, space exploration and space history, let's see, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A in the 73 round. Now, one thing I would tell you is we have a skeleton crew this evening. It's going to be basically Brenda and I. Everyone else is out, although we may hear from one person who is returning from a trip. She may be here in time to keep her segment. We'll see. Also, of course, I'm watching the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions. This is a tough one for me. I lived in Detroit for 30 years, and I've lived in Dallas for 33, or 35, actually, now I think about it. Yeah, that's right, 65. I'm 65, folks. So, here we go. We're going to do low power, short time. Let's just do short time check-in. I'm going to take that low power part out. If you're a short time check-in and you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Short time only, please. Okie dokie, well that solved that problem. Let's go to general check-ins. If you're one of those, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Lima Lima. Short time, low power, Richardson, name is Huey. KF5 PLL.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra Gus, far northeast Dallas.
This is Kilo Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas.
5 Zulu India X-ray, Joe and Wiley. This is Alpha Alpha 5 Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson. Kilo Foxtrot 5 Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo India 5 Gulf Romeo Hotel, Melissa, Surf City.
Kilo Golf 5 Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob Dallas.
Okay, let's hold up there. I'm going to need one fill, but let me get everybody checked in. I got KF5PL, far northeast Dallas, K5WDL, James Carrollton, WB5OZL, Brenda in Dallas, and the next station got covered over. This is Zulu India X-ray. That's Joe and Wiley. Joe, can I get your full call? Somebody kind of squashed you. Okay, I think we lost Joe. Well, I'll find you eventually. AA5AH, Robert Richardson, KF5ZBL, Mr. Bill, Farmers Branch, KF5GRH, Melissa over in Surf City, most disaster-prone city in the universe. KG5UFR, Jacob in Dallas. Additional check-ins, please come out.
Sorry, I drifted off channels. Kilo Golf 5 Zulu India X-ray, Joe and Wiley.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Joe. KG5ZIX, Joe over in Wiley. Got you checked in. I will now go over to Echolink. I see one person there. I'll allow her to check in. Please join us over on Echolink.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-ray. Kelly, I made it, and I'm in Tyler, Texas.
Oh, thank you, Kelly, and you made it most of the way home. I got you down in Tyler, Texas. We'll have, you were the person I was looking for. Welcome almost home, and I'll let you go ahead and do your segment in a little bit. Okay, let's see. I will take check-ins from anywhere, any place, any time. That should be right now. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transferring.
Kilo 5, Mike Charlie Delta, Cody in Dallas, low power.
Okay, I picked up K5MCD, Cody in Dallas. I'm going to go back up to Huey, KF5PLL. Huey, your short time, low power. Do you have anything for the net at this time or in the near future you'd like to bring to the net before you disappear into the ether?
Happy days, everybody. KF5 PLL. Good night, 7-3.
Okay, thank you, Huey. Let's see now. Next on our list is, we've done Echolink check-ins. We've got Open Round, we did that. General announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These are the ham astronomical space for general interest, the licensed ham. Please come with your call. Okay, hearing none. I don't have anything for you right now. Well, I do. Let's see. We do have this Tuesday, January 2nd, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club monthly meeting, the first of 2024, of course. It's a board meeting and then the general meeting. The board meeting starts at 6 o'clock. The general regular meeting begins at 7 p.m. It's the Dallas Medical Center located at 635 and 35. Come on by. We are on the third floor of the main building. Free parking out front. Once you get up onto the third floor, all you have to do is get off the elevators, follow the voices where you will find all the happy hams, maybe most of them happy, maybe a couple of crumbs in the group, but we haven't had any in a while. Come on by. I don't know what the topic will be this evening, maybe what we're doing for 2024. That's generally one of the things that occurs with your president. So come on by. It should be a lot of fun. That's the Dallas Amateur Radio Club monthly meeting at the Dallas Medical Center on the third floor of the main building. Does anyone need any help? Okay, very good. Let's see. I've got the usual announcements. I'll make them really quick. Don't forget about the AMSAT Amateur Radio Satellite Group. There are actually 3 nets available to Dallas residents, 2 local. Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You need Echolink installed and you registered. Find the group. This is on Echolink. Probably mentioned that. You can find it under groups under AMSAT. There's a live audio link also available at amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. We also have our own net here on this repeater, Dallas AMSAT net, also Tuesday at 8 o'clock on this frequency. Tom M5HYP is the net control, and all are welcome to check in. Except for this week, which is the first Tuesday of the month, is the ARC meeting, so he'll be attending that meeting more than likely, so there will be net. We do have also Dallas AMSAT net West, which will be this week, Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater. Their frequency is 147.140 megahertz with the field tone of 110.9. Just like here, only with a positive offset. So if you have any questions about amateur satellite communications or current active satellites, anything at all, those are the nets to participate in. Now we do have the Dallas Amateur Radio Club has a bunch of different nets. We have on Monday evenings a rotating cavalcade of different nets. First week at 7 p.m. we have the ham fixing net. We all know that the hams not only like to cook, like to eat, but they also like to cook. So bring your cooking tips. That's at 7 p.m. The first week, second week is MCOM 101. That is everything having to do with emergency communications. We call that a non-denominational net because you can come by and ask questions. People there will field answers about emergency communications. You don't have to be a member of any particular group, although it's a plus if you are, because you can answer questions about your particular group. Third Monday of the week is ham. Third Monday of the month is the second helping of ham fixin', ditto from the first week. Fourth week is GeekNet. GeekNet's always fun because we wander a little bit away from amateur radio and go into all things geeky, computers, interesting stories, science, things going on. And if there's a fifth week, there is a surprise net. If we told you what it is, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation is encouraged. Usually there's a little contest that goes on there. Sometimes we even have a prize. So come on by for the fifth week surprise net at 7 p.m. when there is a fifth week, of course. At 8 p.m., learn about emergency communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, who's checked in this evening, KI5GRH, is usually net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. CERT City, all are welcome. Saturdays, of course, is the night of nets. We have TechNet from 7 to 8 o'clock, all things having to do with amateur radio and your questions, hopefully answered. We have Skynet, which you are on right now, from 8 until 9:30. And then from 9, what did I say? From 9 until 10:30, I'll get it right, 9 until 10:30 is a 1 hour break. And then at 10:30, give or take a few minutes, is the after-school movie net, which I'm going to tell you about here in just a minute. daily, we have the ARRL National Traffic System Training Net. That's every night at 6:30 p.m., rain or shine. Come on by for that if you'd like to be part of the formalized net. If you'd like to do something with formal traffic. It is an interesting net. If you're new to amateur radio, it's a great net to be involved in because it's a training net. Because it's a training net, you can't do anything wrong. It's impossible. It's a training net. And then finally, I'm going to tell you about tonight's Afterglow movie net. Yes, we watched some of the finest and some of the not-so-finest movies ever made, mostly with a science fiction bent. This one is no different. Here you go. I'm going to give you the highly accurate synopsis of tonight's net, tonight's movie, which is Reed and Malloy had been on the beat for many, many years. Somehow they managed to miss their retirement. You would think someone would mention these things in their briefing. Here they were. Over 1,000 years in the future, still riding around in their 1972 AMC Matador, a car so dependable it never needed oil, or gas for that matter. The radio blared to life. What Adam 12? What Adam 12? See a rampaging robot kidnapping bad actors from a Mad Max movie ripoff, handle code 3. It's the third time this week. Join us for this New Year's 3000 special, Exterminators of the Year 3000 from the year 1983 or 84. We can't decide. Tonight at 10:30. You can keep up with all of the ARC events, nets, and activities by going to the Club West website, which I mentioned earlier, whiskey5friedchicken.org. That's w5fc.org. Does anyone need any fills or have any questions? Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Normally that would be done by Chaz, and I think Kelly is Kelly is out and about. So I'm just going to read what I have here. This came from Chaz. He is out. He is back home in not Indiana, Ohio. So he says the following: the next TAS Club meeting will be on Friday, January 26th. 2024, and the meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and it will also be held on Zoom. The featured speaker will be Ken Stura from the Denver Astronomical Society, talking about the Chamberlain Observatory. Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked on Saturday night, so there would be an opportunity for live reports from TAS public observing sessions. Tonight there are no public observing sessions scheduled on the 5th Saturday of the month. Check the TAS website, texasastronaut.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. Oh, by the way, let's see. Okay, very good. I had to do some mental arithmetic here. Next up would be normally the National Space Society events and activities. That would be Bill, N5BB, but he's out on the West Coast, somewhere in California, so I'll give you his blurb. You can go to the National Space Society of North Texas. Their website is ntx.nss.org. The National Space Society of North Texas has an active Facebook page. Just type in National Space Society of North Texas into the search box and request access. You'll receive meeting reminders and club activities. Their activities are once a month. They do have a meeting. They also have a social get-together. All of that information is available at ntx.nss.org. Does anyone need any fills on anything I've given you this evening? Someone you call now? All right, hearing none. So, I am going to give you a little presentation. The many plans for the Mega Starship. Now, as we all know, the Mega Starship is done by a two-stage massive spacecraft that's been being built by SpaceX. They've had two missions, or I should say two launches so far. They have yet to complete one mission, which was a suborbital flight around the Earth and then splashing down in the Pacific Ocean somewhere near Hawaii. They're still looking to do that, but Starship is gigantic. I'll tell you a little more about it, but what a lot of people don't know is that there are a lot of different design missions for the Starship. But first, let me tell you a little bit about it. This information is compliments of Wikipedia, which makes everybody super smart. Hopefully me this evening. So this is what they have to say about it, and then some of the missions. By the way, this is KE5ICX, and this is Skynet. Starship is a two-stage super heavy lift launch vehicle under development by SpaceX. It is the heaviest, tallest, and most powerful space launch vehicle having flown in space. Starship is intended to be fully reusable, which means both stages are recovered after the mission and reused. The Starship space vehicle is designed to supplement SpaceX Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy rockets, extend SpaceX Starlink satellite constellation, and launch crews to both low Earth orbit and Mars. SpaceX plans to use Starship vehicles as tankers, refueling other Starships to allow missions to geosynchronous orbit, the Moon, and Mars. The lunar lander variant of the Starship is to land astronauts on the Moon as part of NASA's Artemis program. Starship is primarily meant to enable SpaceX ambition of into Mars. Starship consists of the Super Heavy booster and the Starship spacecraft. The booster and spacecraft are both powered by Raptor engines, which burn liquid methane and liquid oxygen. Both stages are constructed primarily of stainless steel, material chosen as an alternative to a series of prior designs. The booster is designed to use its rocket to slow itself down before it is caught by a pair of mechanical arms attached to the launch tower. The Starship spacecraft is protected during atmospheric re-entry by its thermal protection system, using a belly flop maneuver where the spacecraft turns from a horizontal into a vertical position, then lands using its engine. The Starship system aims to achieve frequent space launches at low cost. Development follows an iterative and incremental approach involving frequent and often destructive test flights of prototype vehicles. The first flight test of the full Starship system took place on April 20th, 2023, successfully lifting off with several engines out, but ended 4 minutes after the launch with the loss of control and destruction of the launch vehicle. The second flight test of the vehicle took place on November 18, 2023, successfully achieving stage separation. The Super Heavy booster exploded seconds into firing its engines for its boost back burn, while the upper stage was lost nearly 8 minutes after launch. SpaceX plans to use Starship speed internet to over 70 countries. An analyst at financial services company Morgan Stanley stated development of the Starship and Starlink are intertwined with Starship's planned launch capacity, enabling cheaper Starlink launches and Starlink's profits financing Starship's development costs. In deficit since its inception at the end of 2022, Starlink was first reported to be cash flow positive in the first quarter of 2023. Elon Musk said that it continued to remain profitable through 2023. In December 2023, the FCC stated at the time of the Bureau's decision, Starship has not yet been launched. Over a year later, Starship has not yet had a successful launch. Of all its attempted launches have failed. The FCC therefore issued a final denial of $885 million Starlink subsidy because Starlink is continuing to successfully launch the Starship rocket. Bad statement, but I think that's going to change. Now, on to some of the possible missions that Starship will be doing. As of 2022, the SuperBird 9 communications satellite is Starship's first and only known contract for externally made commercial satellites. The satellite has a dry mass of 6,600 pounds, planned for the 2024 launch to a geosynchronous orbit. In the future, the spacecraft crewed version could be used for space tourism, for example, the Dear Moon project or a third flight of the Polaris program. Must state it that SpaceX would complete hundreds of cargo flights before launching with new passengers. In January of 2022, SpaceX was awarded a $102 million five-year contract to develop the rocket cargo program for the United States Space Force. The five-year contract is intended to determine exactly what a rocket can achieve when used for rocket transport, and will see the Air Force Research Laboratory collect data during commercial launches of Starship. The contract includes an eventual demonstration mission with the launch and landing of the cargo-laden Starship. Starship's lunar lander, Starship HLS, which is Human Landing System, was initially chosen by NASA as the sole lunar human landing system for the planned Artemis 3 and Artemis 4 crewed missions as part of the Artemis program. The lander is to be launched into low Earth orbit and refueled by multiple Starship tanker spacecraft. Once fueled, it would perform a translunar injection burn and enter a near rectilinear halo orbit around the Moon. The Orion spacecraft launched with the Space Launch System would then dock with the Starship HLS, and its crew would transfer into the lander. The lander would then make a powered descent and land near the lunar South Pole. After the crew performed the surface portion of their mission, the HLS would ascend with the crew to rendezvous with the Orion spacecraft. The crew would transfer into the Orion spacecraft and perform the burn to return to Earth. Opinions differ on how Starship's planned low launch cost will affect the cost of space science. According to Walid Abdelati, former NASA's chief scientist, planned low launch cost would reduce the cost of satellite replacement and enable more ambitious missions with budget-limited programs. According to Linet, low launch cost might not reduce the overall cost of science missions significantly. Of the Rosetta space probe and the Philae lander system, the cost of $1.7 billion, the cost of launch by an expendable Ariane 5 only made up 10%. Now also, astronomers have been called to consider Starship's large mass to orbit and wider cargo bay for proposed space telescopes such as LUVOIR, and to develop a larger telescope to take advantage of these capabilities. Starship's 9 meters bearing width could hold an 8 meters wide large space telescope mirror in a single piece, alleviating the need for complex unfolding such as the James Webb Space Telescope 6.5 mirror, which added cost and delays. Low launch costs would also allow probes to use heavier, more common, cheaper materials such as glass instead of beryllium for large telescope mirrors. At 5 tons, the JWST represents only 10% of the mass deliverable by the Starship to the Earth-Sun L2 point, and therefore minimizing the weight of the telescope would not have been a dominant design consideration. A refueled Starship could launch a 100-ton observatory to the Moon and Sun-Earth L2 Lagrange point. Starship might also launch probes orbiting Neptune, Jupiter's moon Io, or large sample return missions. Astrophysicists have noted Starship could deploy multiple antennae up to 30 meters in length, opening up radio astronomy to frequencies below 30 megahertz and wavelengths greater than 10 meters. This would give the ability to study the universe's dark ages, unfeasible on Earth due to the atmosphere and human radio background. SpaceX has stated Starship is intended to be able to land crews on Mars. The spacecraft would be launched in low Earth orbit and refueled in orbit before heading to Mars. After landing on Mars, the seven-tier reaction could be used to synthesize liquid methane and liquid oxygen. Starship fuel in a power-to-gas plant. Plants for all resources would be Martian water and Martian carbon dioxide. On Earth, similar technologies could be used to make carbon-neutral propellant for the rocket. SpaceX and Musk have stated their goal of colonizing Mars to ensure the long-term survival of humanity with the ambition of having 1 million people to Mars by 2050. This timeline has been criticized as unrealistic by Kevin Olson, a physicist at the University of Oxford, who has said that the colony needs to become a factory to produce air, fuel, and water, as it is fundamentally impossible to create a completely closed environment in space, and that the technology to do so is far, far behind the technology of space flight and habitation construction. Olson also criticized the speed of Musk's timeline, stating that the desire to colonize Mars quickly makes it even more dangerous. George Dvorsky, writing for Gizmodo, described Musk's plan as pure delusion. Zirkin and Staden, a mining engineering professor from the University of New South Wales, stated that we currently lack the technology to establish a Martian colony and will likely lack the capability to establish a Martian city with 1 million people by 2050. Musk has maintained an interest in Mars colonization since 2001, when he joined the Mars Society and researched Mars-related space experiments before founding SpaceX in 2002. Musk has made many tentative estimates of Starship's Mars landing. In 2016, he estimated that a crewed mission would be achieved as early as 2024. In December 2020, he revised that estimate to 2026. In March of 2022, he estimated the first crewed Mars landing would occur in 2029. SpaceX has not published technical plans about Starship's life support system or radiation protection. Okay, that's it for my presentation at this time. This is on the SpaceX Starship and its super heavy booster. I hope you enjoyed it. It's interesting what they have planned. Now, whether all these things come to pass or any of them is yet to be determined. We have to wait for the first successful mission before we can speculate as to when all this really does happen. Okay, with that, I'm going to take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas, low power, long time.
Kilo India 5, Uniform Juliet, Dustin in Dallas.
Okay, we picked up 2 more. I got WB4MFI, Ted in Dallas, KI5UUJ, Dustin in Dallas. You both checked in. Okay, next up would be Chaz's segment, which was up. Tonight, Brenda, WB5OZL, is going to read what Chaz provided us this week. So, Brenda, please go ahead with your presentation for tonight, or Chaz's presentation, actually. Thanks. From KB5, I see it.
Thank you, Tom. This is Brenda, WB5OZL. Slide number 1, please. That is not me on that slide. In case you wondered, that is Chaz, who normally does this segment and wrote it. I didn't write it. I just get to read it. So we call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks. Slide number 2. The full moon was on December 26th, so the current phase of the moon is in a waning gibbous. On January 1st, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 404,909 kilometers. On January 3rd, the moon's phase is third quarter. On January 1st, at a distance of 362,267 kilometers. Slide number 3. On January 1st, the moon and Juno are in conjunction in the eastern evening sky. Slide number 4. On the night of January 3rd to 4th, the Quadrantids meteor shower peaks. This meteor shower can have up to 120 meteors per hour just before dawn. You can get more information about meteors and meteor showers at the International Organization at www.imo.net or the American Meteor Association at www.amsmeteors.org. Slide number 5. On January 8th, the moon and Antares are in conjunction in the southeastern morning sky. In fact, after sunrise, there is a daytime occultation of Antares by the moon. The disappearance happens at around 7:52:01 a.m., and the reappearance occurs at 9:13:56 a.m. If you have a special computer-controlled telescope and it is clear, then you should be able to observe this occultation. I will try to do so from Brookhaven campus. Slide number 6. A day later, on January 9th, there is a conjunction of the moon and Mercury in the east-southeastern morning sky. Slide number 7. On January 13th, the moon and Saturn will be in conjunction in the west-southwestern evening sky. Slide number 8. On January 15th, the moon and Neptune will be in conjunction in the southwestern evening sky. You will need a telescope to observe the planet Neptune. Slide number 9. On January 16th, a conjunction of Venus and Ceres will occur in the east-southeastern morning sky. Slide number 10. Remember that we have another solar eclipse coming up in 3 months. A solar eclipse is when the moon is in between the Earth and the Sun, and for a few lucky people on the Earth blocks some or all of the Sun from view. Slide number 11. On April 8th, 2024, is a total solar eclipse for us in North Texas. From the Brookhaven campus, the sun will be completely blocked out for about 3 minutes and 20 seconds between 1:41 and 1:44 p.m. During that time, called totality, you will be able to see stars in the sky just like it were evening twilight. The next total solar eclipse visible from North Texas will be on July 9th, 2317. So this total solar eclipse is a very big deal since it only happens about once every 300 years in North Texas. This is WB50ZL and this is Skynet. Slide number 12. The next TAS club meeting will be on Friday, January 26, 2024, and the meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and will also be held on Zoom. The featured speaker will be Ken Sturrock from the Denver Astronomical Society, talking about the Chamberlain Observatory. Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights so that there was the opportunity for live reports from the TAS public observing sessions. Tonight there are no public observing sessions scheduled for the 5th Saturday of the month. Check the TAS website, www.texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. Slide number 13. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question. Slide number 14. So as the moon wanes, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. Until the next time, actually, I'll be doing another Skynet segment in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. This is WB50ZL, Brenda, back to our net control.
Very good. Thank you, Brenda. And I'm sure Chaz thanks you as well. And I tell you something, this is going to be very exciting. If you've never seen a total solar eclipse, I saw my first one a few years ago up in Kansas, and it's an amazing thing. So we're very fortunate to be right in the past totality. I would highly recommend you do not go out of town. Stay in. It is the most remarkable thing you'll probably experience in your lifetime. This is KE5 ITX and net control for tonight's Skynet. Kelly is here, K5KTX. She can give her presentation, space exploration and space history. So Kelly, please go ahead with your presentation from KE5 ITX.
Thank you, Tom. This is K5KTX. Good evening, everyone. Well, here we are at the end of 2023, having learned so much about the vast, mysterious universe we live in. Here's a recap of some of the biggest moments in NASA space science this year. In 2023, as NASA pushed the limits of exploration for the benefit of humanity, the agency celebrated astronaut Frank Rubio becoming the first American astronaut to spend more than 1 year in space, delivered samples from an asteroid to Earth, sent a spacecraft to study a metal-rich asteroid for the first time, launched multiple initiatives to share climate data, advanced developments in sustainable aircraft, all while continuing preparations to send the first Artemis astronauts to the moon. It also marks the 65th anniversary of the agency. The agency's James Webb Space Telescope, the largest, most powerful telescope humanity has ever put into space, celebrated 1 year of science. As part of its first year of operations, NASA's Webb Telescope pulled back the curtain on some of the farthest galaxies, stars, and black holes ever observed, solved a long-standing mystery about the early universe, found methane and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere of a planet outside of our solar system, and offered new views and insights into our own cosmic backyard. Closer to Earth, the International Space Station, humanity's home in space, passed 25 years of operation. NASA and its partners officially extended operation plans for the Microgravity Science Laboratory for the benefit of humanity. Celebrating these achievements, NASA also unveiled its NASA 2040 vision for the agency to ensure it remains a global leader in aerospace for decades to come. This year, NASA shared results of its first Moon to Mars architecture concept review as it builds a blueprint for human exploration throughout the solar system for the benefit of humanity. The agency also continues to take significant steps toward landing the first woman and first person of color on the Moon as part of Artemis. Notably, in 2023, NASA announced the crew for the Artemis II mission, the first Artemis mission with astronauts around the Moon and back to Earth. The crew completed fundamentals training and is now focusing on training for mission operations. NASA's OSIRIS-REx, or Origins, Spectral Interpretation, Resource Identification, and Security Regulus Explorer spacecraft capped its 7-year journey with the successful deposit of a pristine sample of surface material from the asteroid Bennu in the Utah desert. NASA showed off material from the asteroid Bennu for the first time. Initial studies of the 4.5 billion-year-old asteroid Bennu sample collected in space and brought to Earth show evidence of high carbon content and water, which together could indicate building blocks of life on Earth may be found in the rock. In 2023, NASA advanced aviation and aeronautics technology growth and created a future of cleaner, quieter, safer skies. Through its Sustainable Flight National Partnership and other efforts, NASA supported the U.S. goal of reaching net zero aviation greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 and the agency released a new strategic implementation plan to guide research for the next 20 years and beyond. So let's raise our glass and look forward to more amazing science and advances in human space exploration by NASA and all of the other agencies working together to advance what we know about our universe. Now in space history for this past week, beginning with December the 25th, back in 2021, the James Webb Space Telescope was launched on an Ariane 5 rocket from Kourou, Prince Guyana, and arrived at the Sun-Earth L2 Lagrange point in January of 2022. Discussions of a Hubble follow-on started in the 1980s, but serious planning began in the early 1990s. Assembly of the hexagonal segments of the primary mirror, which was done via robotic arm, began in November 2015 and was completed on February the 3rd, 2016. The secondary mirror was installed on March 3rd, 2016. Final construction of the Webb telescope was completed in November 2016, after which extensive testing procedures began. In March 2018, NASA delayed the launch an additional 2 years to May of 2020 after the telescope's sun shield ripped during a practice deployment and the sun shield's cables did not sufficiently tighten. In June 2018, NASA delayed the launch by an additional 10 months to March of 2021 based on the assessment of the independent review board convened after the failed March 2018 test deployment. The review identified that launch and deployment had 344 potential single-point failures, tasks that had no alternative or means of recovery if unsuccessful, and therefore had to succeed for the telescope to work. After construction was completed, the James Webb Space Telescope underwent final tests at a Northrop Grumman factory in Redondo Beach, California. A ship carrying the telescope left California on September 26, 2021, passed through the Panama Canal, and arrived in French Guiana on October 12, 2021. And here's a joke for you, since Chaz was not here. The James Webb Space Telescope can see so far back in time, it can see its original launch date. December the 27th, way back in 1571, Johannes Kepler was born in Germany. He was an astronomer, mathematician, astrologer, natural philosopher, and writer on music. He is a key figure in the 17th century scientific revolution and best known for his laws of planetary motion. So on December the 27th, 1968, bringing a bright ending to a crummy year, Apollo 8, the first manned mission to the moon, returned safely to Earth after an historic 6-day journey with astronauts Frank Borman, James Lovell Jr., and William Anders aboard. The computer would control the re-entry, and all the crew had to do was put the spacecraft in the correct attitude, with the blunt end forward. In the event of computer failure, Borman was ready to take over. 6 minutes before they hit the top of the atmosphere, the crew saw the moon rising above the Earth's horizon, just as it had been calculated by the trajectory specialist. At 30,000 feet, the drogue parachute deployed, stabilizing the spacecraft, followed at 10,000 feet by the 3 main parachutes. The spacecraft splashed down in the North Pacific Ocean, southwest of Hawaii. When the spacecraft hit the water, the parachutes dragged it over and left it upside down in what was termed stable 2 position. As they were buffeted by a 10-foot swell, Borman was sick, waiting for the 3 flotation balloons to right the spacecraft. About 6 minutes after splashdown, the command module was righted into a normal apex up or stable 1 orientation by its inflatable bag uprighting system. The first frogman from aircraft carrier USS Yorktown arrived 43 minutes after splashdown. 45 minutes later, the crew was safe on the flight deck of the Yorktown. All mission objectives and detailed test objectives were achieved, as well as 5 that were originally not planned. The crew was in excellent condition, and another major step toward the first lunar landing had been accomplished. December the 30th, back in 1930, the first photograph was taken that shows the curvature of the Earth. The photo was taken from an airplane east of the Andes mountain range in South America. Captain Albert W. Stevens, an officer in the U.S. Army Air Corps, and an aerial photographer took the image while flying at an altitude of 21,000 feet over Villa Mercedes, Argentina. The Andes Mountains, 287 miles away, and although taller than the plane's altitude, lay below the sensible horizon. The Earth's curvature explains this phenomenon as described in the diagram accompanying the photograph. So if you're watching the YouTube, you will see that photograph. The Earth's curvature is also visible laterally in the photograph, although the effect is subtle as the image encompasses only 1/360th of the Earth's circumference. About 5 years later, Captain Stevens took another photo from a high-altitude balloon from over South Dakota at a then world record altitude of 72,395 feet. Finally, I have our astronaut birthdays that we celebrated this past week, starting with December the 25th, 1959, Michael Anderson, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-89 and 107. December 29th, 1958, Nancy Curry Craig, Space Shuttle missions STS-57, 70, 88, and 109. December 29th, 1962, Barry or Butch Wilmore, Space Shuttle missions STS-129. He was also part of Expeditions 41 and 42, and he is still scheduled to be the commander of the first Boeing cruise flight test, maybe April of next year. December 30th, 1953, Daniel Barry, Space Shuttle missions STS-72, 96, and 105. And December 30th, 1958, Stephen Smith, Space Shuttle missions STS-68, 82, 103, and 110. So happy birthday to all of them. And with that, I will say good night, and this is K5KTX, Kelly, and I will send it back to Tom.
Very good, and thank you, Kelly, and safe travels home. This is KE5ICX, net control for Skynet. We'll go ahead and check Joe in KG5ZMG, who's having some problem on Echolink. He's over in Arlington, so I'm going to check him in. He's over on the YouTube feed. He just wanted to let me know that he wanted to check in. I did see him over on Echolink. So we've got you checked in. Anyone else want to join us this evening? Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
November 5 Whiskey Yankee. This is Joseph in East Dallas.
Okay, we picked up N5WY. That's Joseph in East Dallas. Welcome, Joseph. There was another station, but all we got was static. You want to try again?
Hello, Bravo 9, Sir Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Okay, picked up one more. KV9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. I have you checked in. Okay, we're going to go over to Brenda again, WV50ZL. She is now going to do a presentation on Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week as written up by Chaz. So, Brenda, go right ahead, please.
This is WV50ZL again, Brenda, with Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Slide number 15. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of a silent key Carolyn, KC5 Oscar Zulu Tango. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week for almost from its beginning in 2012 until May 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. In her honor, we have continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week this week is at Fornax the Furnace and Eridanus the River. Fornax the Furnace is one of the more modern constellations of the southern sky, created by the French astronomer Nicolas Louis de la Caille. I'm sure I butchered that. Around 1751. He originally named it the Chemical Furnace, but the name has since been shortened to Fornax the Furnace. Slide number 16, the dreaded jokes of the week. It's my duty. I'm going to do them. Did you hear about the pottery furnace that exploded? It was terrible. They had to notify its next of kiln. Last week, there was a guy that got into an argument with his furnace. You could say things got a little heated. This guy's furnace broke down on him, so they threw him a housewarming party. This guy fell in a river in Egypt last week, but swears he didn't. He's in denial. Two hillbillies were on opposite riverbanks. One hollered, "How do I get to the other side?" And the other one hollered back, "You're on the other side." Actually, that was pretty funny. Why does the river have a lot of money? Oh, because it has two banks. Alright, my call sign is WB50ZL, and this is Skynet, slide 17. Alpha Fornacus is the brightest star in Fornax. Alpha Fornacus shines at a magnitude 3.8 and is the only star in Fornax brighter than 4th magnitude. Alpha Fornacus has two proper names associated with it, Dalem and Fornacus. It is a binary star. The companion star, Fornacus B, shines at about magnitude 7 and is separated by 5 arcseconds. It takes about 300 years to complete an orbit. In the telescope, Alpha Fornacus looks white or yellow-white, and there are 5 or 6 other stars in the field of view. Slide number 18. NGC 1360. Dave Hutchison noted in the COTM article about Fornax, everyone who observes this planetary nebula wonders why this object is not more well known. It is a large object and not one of the typical smaller planetary nebulae that look like stars at first glance. NGC 1360 is large enough and bright enough so that it can be seen with a 60-millimeter refractor and has been observed with instruments that are slightly smaller. The late Walter Scott Houston, in his Deep Sky Wonders column, called it a fantastic Fornax planetary. Slide number 19. Hubble Ultra Deep Field was taken when what looks from the Earth as an area void of anything. David Hutchison pointed his telescope at the region of the Hubble Ultra Deep Field and saw nothing. However, Dave notes that today's amateur astronomers are seeing astronomical objects that would have been considered impossible 20 or 30 years ago, and they're producing photographs of objects that rival or even exceed those produced by large observatories or space probes from not long ago. Quoting from the article, our challenge now is to see what amateurs can show 20 years from now in this small corner of space. Slide number 20. The constellation of Eridanus has been associated with various rivers on Earth, including the Euphrates, the Nile, and particularly the Padus, which is known today as the Po River in Italy. The river Eridanus is what the ancient Greeks called the Po River. In mythology, Eridanus is associated with the tragic story of Phaethon, the mortal son of the sun god Helios. Phaethon asked Helios to allow him to drive the chariot of the sun for a single day, a wish that Helios reluctantly granted. Phaethon lost control of the chariot and passed too close to the earth, setting whole mountain ranges ablaze. Zeus had to intervene to save the earth from destruction with a well-placed lightning bolt. Phaethon's blazing body fell from the chariot into the Eridanus River, the waters of which quenched the flames. Phaethon was killed, but the earth was saved. Slide number 21. Epsilon Eridani is an interesting star on several levels. For one thing, it is one of the nearest naked-eye stars to the Sun. With Epsilon at 10.5 light-years away, among the naked-eye stars, only Alpha Centauri system and Sirius are closer. Secondly, it is comparable to our Sun in spectral type and luminosity. And finally, astronomers believe there is a Jupiter-sized extrasolar planet in orbit around it, making Epsilon one of the nearest stars to our solar system known to have planets. The planet takes 7 years to orbit Epsilon at an average distance of 3.4 astronomical units. Achernar Alpha Eridani, the name Achernar means the star at the end of the river, and that's exactly where Achernar is, at the extreme southern end of the constellation. Achernar is a magnitude 0.53 blue-white giant star of spectral type B. It is about 120 light-years away. You may be wondering why such a bright and easily visible naked-eye star would be called a challenge object. The challenge is to travel far enough south to see it, as Achernar cannot be seen from Dallas or from most of the United States. It is visible from Florida and the southern parts of Texas, the Gulf Coast, and of course from Hawaii. It can be seen from the Davis Mountains and Big Bend regions of Texas on autumn evenings. Unfortunately, it cannot be seen during the Texas Star Party since the sun is up at the same time as Achernar during that time of year. I understand it can be seen from the El Dorado Star Party since it is up in the early morning hours before dawn during the time of the year that the El Dorado Star Party is held. Slide 22. NGC 1291 is an unusual galaxy. It looks somewhat like a spiral galaxy, except it appears that the spiral arms have separated from the nucleus, forming a ring around the nucleus, with a sizable gap between the nucleus and the ring. Slide number 23. NGC 1535 is a planetary nebula known as Cleopatra's Eye. The Astronomical League Guidebook Observe the Herschel objects describes this nebula as small, circular, and almost stellar with a definite blue tint. Dave Hutchison recommends a large aperture telescope for viewing this object, as well as taking some time to observe it to give yourself time to make out some of the details. Walter Scott Houston's notes about NGC 1535 were in close agreement to David's. Slide 24. There are a few more Astronomical League observing platform objects in the constellation of Fornax, Supernus, and Eridanus, the river. I've just given you a sampling of some of these objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 77 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and pin in about a year. Slide number 25. And that is Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week at Fornax, Supernus, and Eridanus, the river. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchison and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on the deep sky objects I have used, borrowed, and stolen for every Skynet. I also at times use the website www.constellation-guide.com for information. Next week we'll take a look at Perseus, the hero, and Camelopardos, the giraffe. This is WE50ZL sending the net back to our net control.
Very good. Thank you, Miss Brenda. Thank you for stepping in for Chaz this week. It's most appreciated. This is KE5ICX. Net control tonight, Skynet. Next up are the space launches for this weekend, maybe a little beyond. By the way, if you need to know, I think you already know, it's 17-13 in favor of Dallas, fourth, with 1 minute and 45 seconds left. Looks like Dallas is about to try an attempted 43-yard field goal. Let's hope they get it. I'll let you know. And the answer is, they got it. So they found 1913. 2013, I'm sorry. Can't count, can I? Okay, spaceflight now. Launch schedule is what I have for you. That's where I get this information, spaceflightnow.com. On January 2nd, 2024, our first launch of the new year, Starlink 7-9 will launch SLC-4E from Vandenberg Space East. The mission includes 6 satellites equipped to provide cell phone coverage. The Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on the drone ship. Of course, I still love you in the Pacific Ocean. January 3rd will be a Falcon 9 launch of Ovzon 3. This will be from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral. The Falcon 9 will launch a much-delayed small geostationary satellite for the Swedish broadband internet provider Ovzon. It was originally scheduled to launch on Ariane 5, but the satellite was moved to Falcon 9 due to delayed manufacturing of the Ariane 6, by the way. Then we have January 8th. This will be a launch of the Peregrine from the Vulcan, using the Vulcan Centaur. This will be from SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral. United Launch Alliance Vulcan Centaur rocket will launch on its inaugural flight with Peregrine commercial lunar lander for Astrobotics. Peregrine Robotics lander will carry multiple instruments, scientific experiments, and tech demo payloads for NASA and other customers. The mission will also launch 2 prototype satellites for Amazon Kuiper broadband constellation. Vulcan Centaur rocket will fly in the VC-2S configuration with 2 GEM 63XL solid rocket boosters, short-length payload fairing, and 2 RL-10 engines on the Centaur upper stage. Then we have on January 17th, launch of Axiom Mission 3. This will be from Launch Complex 39A at Cape Kennedy. Falcon 9 rocket launched a Crew Dragon spacecraft on the program's 13th flight with astronauts. The commercial mission, managed by Axiom Space, is commanded by former NASA astronaut Michael Lopez Alegria. 3 passengers will be Walter Villay, Keller Desivetisi, and Marcus Bont. Will fly on this 2-week commercial mission to the International Space Station. First stage booster will return to landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. Then we have on January 29th another Falcon 9 launch from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral. This rocket will launch Northrop Grumman's 21st Cygnus cargo freighter on the 20th operational cargo delivery flight to the International Space Station. The mission was known as NG-20. The launch vehicle for this mission was changed from Northrop Grumman's own Antares 230 Plus to SpaceX Falcon 9 after the Russian invasion of Ukraine ended engine and booster production for the Antares program. Next is an Atlas V launch from SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral. An Atlas V rocket from the United Launch Alliance, designated AV-101, will launch the USSF-51 mission for the U.S. Space Force. The mission will launch an undisclosed payload for the military. On February 6th, Falcon 9 will launch from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral. This will be NASA's Plankton Aerosol Club Ocean Ecosystem Space mission. The spacecraft is equipped with instruments to assess the health of the ocean by measuring the distribution of phytoplankton, tiny plants, and algae. February, we have another Falcon 9 launch, Launch Complex 39A at Cape Kennedy. This Falcon 9 will launch an IM-1 mission from the Nova C lander built and owned by Intuitive Machines. The IM-1 mission will attempt to deliver a suite of scientific payloads to the surface of the moon for NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services program. Let's see, I've got a couple more. I've got USS F-124 will launch. This is at SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral. Falcon 9 will launch a mission for the U.S. Space Force and Missile Defense Agency. That's all it says. Then finally, Atlas V will launch a Viasat EMEA to be determined. This will be from SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral. The United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, designated AV-100, will launch the Viasat 3 EMEA broadband communication satellite. Viasat 3 Americas is the second of the three new generation Boeing-built geostationary satellites for Viasat. Viasat EMEA will cover the Europe, Middle East, and African regions. And that's it with that. Now we go back to practically my net control, which is Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, you have something for us on recent astronomical discoveries. Please go ahead. That's KV5ITX.
Hello, this is WB5OZL. This article is entitled, Astronomers Detect Seismic Ripples in Ancient Galactic Disk. A new snapshot of an ancient, far-off galaxy could help scientists understand how it formed and the origins of the Milky Way. At more than 12 billion years old, BRI 135-0417 is the oldest and farthest known spiral galaxy in our universe. Lead author Dr. Takafumi Tsukui, butcher that, said in a state-of-the-art telescope called ALMA allowed them to look at this ancient galaxy in much greater detail. Specifically, we were interested in how gas was moving into and throughout the galaxy, Dr. Tsukui said. Gas is a key ingredient for forming stars and can give us important clues about how a galaxy is actually fueling a star formation. In this case, the researchers were able not only to capture the motion of the gas around BRI 135-0417, but also reveal a seismic wave forming, a first in this type of early galaxy. The galaxy's disk, a flattened mass of rotating stars, gas and dust, moves in a way not dissimilar to ripples spreading on a pond after a stone is thrown in. The vertically oscillating motion of the disk is due to an external source, either from new gas streaming into the galaxy or by coming into with other smaller galaxies, Dr. Tsukui said. Both possibilities would bombard the galaxy with new fuel for star formation. Additionally, our study revealed a bar-like structure in the disk. Galactic bars can disrupt gas and transport it towards the galaxy's center. The bar discovered in BRI 135-0417 is the most distant known surface structure of this kind. Together, these results show the dynamic growth of a young galaxy. Because BRI 1335-0417 is so far away, its light takes longer to reach Earth. The images, seen through a telescope in the present day, are a throwback to the galaxy's early days, when the universe was just 10% of its current age. Early galaxies have been found to form stars at a much faster rate than modern galaxies. This is true for BRI 1335-0417, which, despite having a similar mass to our Milky Way, forms stars at a rate a few hundred times faster, co-author Associate Professor Emily Wisniewski said. We wanted to understand how gas is supplied to keep up with this rapid rate of star formation. Spiral structures are rare in the early universe, and exactly how they form also remains unknown. The study also gives us crucial information on the most likely scenarios. While it is impossible to observe the galaxy's evolution directly, as our observations only give us a snapshot, computer simulations can help piece the story together. That's it. This is from ScienceDaily.com, And back to net, WB50ZL.
This is KE5ICX. We thought we had a final with 2120 with Lions winning, but apparently there was a illegal touching penalty. So we're doing this again with a 5-yard penalty. So I don't know, kind of interesting. Here we go. Play is, and it stopped. Well, and there's another flag. Okay, well, I'm not going to give you the play-by-play because, well, if I did that, then, well, what can I tell you? Down to the wire, everyone. And it's against Dallas. Okay, a couple of things here. I've got the passes, satellite passes over the next few days. We have the International Space Station coming up. I found 3 passes that are quite good. We've got January 3rd, minus 3.1 magnitude at 6:54 in the morning. It'll reach its highest point 50 degrees at 6:57, and it'll fall at 7 o'clock a.m. to the southeast. Okay, well, they missed that 2-point conversion, so looks like Dallas may win after all. Now they're happy. Okay, flip the other way around there a little bit as well. Next up, we got January 5th has a good pass. This is minus 3.2 magnitude at 6:53 a.m. Reach its highest point at 6:56, 42 degrees, and it'll fall at 7 a.m. Then finally, the following day, January 6th, minus 3.9 magnitude at 6:07. It'll reach its highest point at 89 degrees, almost directly overhead at 6:08, and it'll fall to the southeast at 6:11. I have just one pass after this, Tiangong Space Station. This is on January 8th. It is a minus 1.2 magnitude brightness at 1824 local time. It'll reach its highest point 34 degrees at 1827. It'll fall to the east at 1829. And that's it. I don't have anything else for you that can be seen in the Dallas area. MSAT is in shadow right now, so that's usually old reliable, but there are weeks that it goes where you can't see it at all thanks to its polar orbit and position. So what do you expect, right? So with that, we're going to end up ending a little bit early this evening. Let me go ahead and take additional check-ins first before we say good night. If I have anyone else who would like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, I forgot to ask, is there any astronomical Q&A? Anyone have any questions or comments for tonight's net? Please come with your call. Okay, we won't belabor the point. With that, we'll go ahead and close the net. We had 18 check-ins this evening, including myself. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope to join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration, because on this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the DARC net. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5sc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net, astronomy in general, on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to the club website, w5sc.org, is the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:20 local time, and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 7-3, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. We'll reconvene here in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Come back then, and we'll get started with tonight's movie, Exterminators from the Year 3000. Oh boy, I can hardly wait. See you then. KT5I.
normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
All right, well, I guess it's time to get started. I get to be net control again. Yay. This is KE5ICX. And this is the Afterglow Movie Net. This is that time of the year where it's very quiet. Don't have the usual check-ins because everybody's traveling, doing things, otherwise preoccupied with the holidays, between Christmas and New Year's, no less. So, we'll see how long this takes and how many people check in. Tonight's movie is a masterpiece that no one's ever heard of before. It's called Exterminators of the Year 3000, which came out in, let me see, what does this one say it was? 1983? Oh, well, I read that somewhere. I don't see the date on here. It just says it's a 1980s exploitation film. But at any rate, I looked for a Wikipedia on it to see if they had anything to say about it. There wasn't a lot, so I found an article that is more or less a review. I'm going to read some of it, but not all of it, just so you get an idea about the film. This was our assigned movie, about 90 minutes in length. 1983, I think, is when it came out. It was filmed in Italy and Spain, and what you would call a spaghetti western was a spaghetti apocalyptic road warrior-esque film. It says here about the film, Exterminators of the Year 3000. It's about 1980s. As cheaply made science fiction action picture can get. It was shot in Italy and Spain by director Giuliano Carminio under the name of Jules Harrison. 1983. There it is. Film scatters an international cast of fashion models and character actors across a barren future Earth where water supplies are dwindling. Calvin Klein model Robert Iannucci, under the name of Robert Iannucci, plays an alien. A bearded... Pardon me, I had to sneeze. I guess I'm allergic to this film. A bearded rogue who stays away from the struggling underground civilization but also dodges the band of surface-flowing ravagers led by Crazy Bull, played by Fernando Belveo, and instead lives by his wits with the occasional help of sexy fellow nomad Trash, played by Alicia Morrow. When Alien starts taking care of a lost cyborg ability for the first time in years. Unfortunately, the director nor the writer of this film did the same. Exterminators of the Year 3000 is mostly a mediocre road warrior copy with a few genuinely exciting chases, punctuating long stretches that range from tedious to terrible. On Shout, the factory's new Blu-ray Iannucci explains that even though the movie's writers and director had limited command of English, they wouldn't let the actors change their lines to make them sound more like human beings would say. So Exterminators sports a lot of dialogue like, "Once more into the breach, you mother grabbers," and "Is this the..." You can figure out the word of the world. Barbarians have to be around. Then again, if the script weren't so lousy, Exterminators of the Year 3000 would be a lot less entertaining. Roughly a third of the movie's appeal derives from its cheesiness, another third from its more eye-popping stunts. There are a few, like a sequence where Alien and Trash run a gauntlet of cool-looking death traps. Whatever its other failings, never let it be said that Exterminators overestimates the fun of watching chunks of an exploded car fall to the ground in super slow motion. The rest of what makes Exterminators of the Year 3000 watchable is its dogged adherence to its era's trends. From the subterranean cities to the tricked-out vehicles racing through flatlands, Exterminators is a compendium of what B-movie producers thought was nifty and or potentially popular in the early 1980s. The wonder of knockoffs is that they codify the quirks of whatever they're imitating, which in this case means a movie about a future Earth dominated not just by scarcity, but by marauding gangs who dress like extras from a heavy metal video. In the Mad Max movies, this premise has social-political connotations that shaped a hero with a tragic backstory. In Exterminators, Alien has no real character arc. The breakdown of society is just another occasion for violence. In the end, it's not that the movie is so bad it's good, so much as it's so derivative, it's fascinating. It says here that they talk special features on the DVD as things about catering and Italian productions, and it's like to work with a cast where nearly all of the leads spoke different languages. It does sound interesting. Maybe it's worth renting to listen to the director's commentary track. Who knows? Okay, with that, I gave you kind of the thing about Exterminators of the Year 3000. Boy, what a movie. What can I tell you? Okay, well, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and ask if anyone is out there and whether they saw Exterminators of the Year 3000. So let's get started. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see our fine movie for tonight?
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. Name is, I'm not going to give my name because you'll know I saw this movie, and I like to conceal that fact. In fact, I'm wearing a bag over my head because I'm so embarrassed at having seen this. Yeah, I did see the movie. It might just be us, Tom.
Oh, Brenda, I think you could be right. Even Echolink is Tumbleweed City right now. Anyone else like to check in? Please come with your call.
All-Star AI-7BQ, John, Eugene, Oregon.
Well, John, AI-7BQ, I have you checked in from Eugene, Oregon. We generally have more people on, but because it's the holidays, it's kind of like really quiet out there. We have about 6, 7, 8 people that check in to talk about our movie of the week, which is usually a science fiction flavored film. This one's one of our not so good ones called Exterminators of the Year 3000. But we usually rip them apart or do something fun. So may have come on the wrong night to check us out, but we're always here at 10:30 our time, which is 10:38 here. So you do the math and figure out when that is. Anyone else want to check in? Please come down.
Wouldn't you been monitoring for almost 2 hours on this all-star node, your Dallas Amateur Radio Club, and wouldn't you know right when I need to hear someone respond, and you did for quite a nice time, I had so much packet drop I couldn't copy. But please continue your net. AI7BQ back to net control.
Okay, John, well, I'm not sure what happened. I'll talk to the guy that takes care of the All-Star Link node and see if he can figure out what's going on, if you can understand anything that I'm saying. But come back next Saturday night. I'm glad you were here, and please come back. Anyone else want to check in? Please come now. Okay, well, hearing none. Well, Brenda, you and I'll tell you what, we're going to wrap this all up into one wonderful package. Why don't you go ahead and give your comments, and I'll give mine. We had a little brief discussion about this earlier, and then I can go to bed early and get up early and go do my long run. So, Brenda, go ahead. Everything you want to say about our fine film, go right ahead. KE5ICF.
WV50ZL. Well, I'll start with a good point. If you know me, you know one of my complaints about movies is where you can't tell the characters apart. And this one you could. I didn't have any trouble telling them all apart. So that's a good thing. Let's see. I had a bunch of old cool cars. I'm a big fan of old cars because I'm old and I remember cool old cars, and I even drove one once. Well, for 5 years we had a muscle car. Just nothing like it. Never be another era like that. Let's see. What did I not like? Was kind of stupid. I mean, I know that's not very articulate, but I'm just not following this. How there's no rain or water, and they're living in a desert. Why don't they move to the coast? Surely the processes that cause rain, especially around the coast, are still at work. They had some gobbledygook about why it never rained. You know, where did all the water go? It's a closed system. I don't know. I have a problem with the idea that this tanker truck, I don't know much about tankers, but I looked them up. It looks like they maybe hold a couple of thousand gallons of water, and that's just nothing. If you're trying to take care of a little colony and grow plants, normally you need a gallon of water per person per day to live, and that's just not going to last long, and that's the end of it. It's not like we can go back and get more. That was it. I understand why it rained in the end. I don't get that, and so what? You know, the rain ran off. It's not going to solve their problems unless they think that now it's going to start raining a lot, except they live in a desert. Even in a good year, it's going to rain maybe, less than 10 inches there. So, I don't know. It was pretty scenery, though. I'll say that. I did enjoy that. I would not mind visiting there and seeing all the mountains and such. They didn't wrap up anything about the boy's dad. They kept saying, he may be dead. They never did follow up on it. They never found his body or found him alive. I think it would really have been good had they brought him back to life would be a nice feel-good ending for the movie, but that didn't happen. So, let's see, what else? I didn't understand why the kid had a bionic arm when they're technologically so backwards they can't get new cars, and you know, they've just been thrown, not in the Stone Ages, but definitely back a ways, and he had this extremely high-tech bionic arm. So where did that technology come from? Didn't get that. I'm just rambling. I'll turn it over. I may come back and say something else again. Back to net, WB50ZL.
Well, thank you, Brenda. You know, I was thinking about this, and I realized something that was interesting. We got 1,000-year-old cars, right? And they run perfectly, and we say, well, how's that possible? Well, let's think about a possibility of doing a post-apocalyptic movie where it all takes place in, say, Cuba. That maybe the rest of the world just sort of just disappears. But Cuba, which spends most of its time on its own, has old cars that they've maintained for, 60 years? And they're still on the road, and they're still operating, and there's an economy and everything else. What if the whole world was destroyed and Cuba wasn't made aware of it? They're so independent and self-reliant for so many years, they might not even notice. It's just a thought. But let's see. Things about the movie. I don't know why they have excessively long discussions about nothing. There's nothing to talk about. The kid kept bringing up, my dad's going to bring us back water. There's going to be water. And it's like, okay, we get it. We heard you mention this the first 45 times. And by the way, you're a robot or an android or something. What father? And how do you know? And gosh, maybe you could tell a story about how that's so important. But no, we can't because nobody speaks English, and making a film with that, well, you know, no two people speak the same language in this film. And the guy who is the bald guy who was Running Bull, who was the bald bad guy, and somehow or another that car, the car that he was driving, the post-apocalyptic cat car or whatever they call it, kit car, how did he lose it? Why? And how did the guy with the hair and the headband manage to find it, have it, keep it? And by the way, since there's no water, where do they get all the gasoline? Where did that come from? And what are the cops all about? They've got 2 cops. What are they enforcing? The place, there's nobody there. Who pays them? And how did they ever go off duty? I mean, Reed and Malloy, you know, at least they got lunch breaks and things. These guys, where are they going to go for lunch? There's no place to go. It's just kind of a weird sort of world thing. Now, with that all being said, I will say one thing. It certainly isn't, a Mad Max production with the massively, great car chases and explosions and everything else. I do have to say, considering that they script on everything else, from plot to sets to all of that, they could make some of the really good explosions. I mean, some of those cars just flew it to pieces really great. Looks fantastic. So you have to admit, if you're into explosions, this movie had them. With the exception of when they blew up the water refinery something, it looked like it was about 2 feet by 1 foot, and with the little large wisps of smoke you get from super small models that look like super small models, that definitely looked like super small models. I kept waiting for a Lionel train to go puffing by in front of it, but that didn't happen, but it came pretty close. So I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I thought the car chases were pretty good. They were rather entertaining, and the car, it looked, I couldn't identify that thing. It looked like an LTD in the front, but it looked like something else in the back. And there was one car in there, I think it was the police car that changed models. It looked like a Valiant and then turned into something else and then turned into a Valiant again. That was pretty cool. And then, what else? That was it. Yeah, not much to this movie, I guess. Oh, the one thing that surprised me is, I mentioned this to you earlier today, is that they're all looking for water. Water is really important. They need water, and they're running out of water. So the movie ends with a giant thunderstorm, which negates the whole purpose of the movie. If everybody just waited around until the end of the movie instead of trying to kill each other for water, the water would have come down. Sky and see clouds, you know, thunder clouds, thunderstorm clouds. I'm sure that you would notice that in a place where there's no water. Why did the water come down? What happened? Did something change? How long did the water come down? It only seemed to come down long enough for the credits to run, but is that enough water to make everybody happy? And by the way, why aren't they collecting the water? They're just standing around, splashing around in whatever water is there. That's great. And as I think you mentioned, what happened to the kid's son? I mean, the robot kid's son? What is it? Father of Roomba or something? Roomba? I don't know. It really didn't make a heck of a lot of sense. And I agree with you, though. The characters were all different. They all had different aesthetic clothing on and drove different cars. And they seemed like really fun folks. You know, if you were going to start a rock band or something. I don't know. Who knows? So I don't know. That was kind of my whole thing. Overall, it was mildly entertaining. Would I ever watch it again? Absolutely not. I'd rather stab my eyes out than watch this movie again. But it was moderately entertaining for what it was. So there you have it. Those are my comments. Not that anybody's listening. You may have even fallen asleep, Brenda, because it's so exciting. So anybody out there have any comments, having seen this movie or anything, before I go back to Brenda and see what she has to say? Because there's just the two of us talking to each other. Anyone else? Okay, I can see Sean's trying to get in, KB9SOK. Sean, can you do something with your volume? Shout into your mic. We're not quite hearing you. Try again.
Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen this movie. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, that did the trick. It needs a little volume behind it, so whatever you're doing, it's working fine now. Go ahead, give us your comments on our fine film from KE5ICX.
Sorry about that. Using Echo Link. Having some issues with receiving the repeater. So I know there's issues with the volume on Echo Link. But anyway, if you hear me okay, yeah, no, what you both said pretty well covered it. I think you nailed the nail on the head when you talked about the ending with the rain. It completely, to me, the movie was an entire waste because of that, because there was no point. You know, all those people died for what reason? You know, some other plot holes is, yeah, as you're bringing up, is why is the kid, part robot? We don't know. You know, that made no sense. And when the people got to the water refinery, why didn't they not tell those people they were there for the town? Obviously, that town had been there before to pick up water. You know, why fight each other? You know, why didn't the town build itself closer to the water source? You know, there was just, and then why did those people blow up the refinery in the end? So this movie just tells a lot of just weird plot holes. But the biggest thing is I don't think the movie knew what it really was. You know, the movie was named after the car, but yet the car really only had about maybe 15 or 20 minutes of the movie. Now, I had that car help escort the tanker for half the movie across the desert, that would have made sense. But really, the movie was really about the boy trying to save his town by getting the water and trying to find his father. But yet, that's not 100% of the focus. That's really what the movie is about. But I really think they didn't think nobody would come to the theater to see a movie about a boy trying to get water. So that's why they named it after the car. But, yeah, this movie just didn't seem to know what it was. Like you said, what were the police? There's just so many weird pieces just kind of chucked in. It just didn't make a lot of sense. So, yeah, I agree. There were parts of it that were mildly entertaining. The characters were distinct, I guess. There's just a lot of weird dialogue. And then, yeah, we had an astronaut living in the middle of nowhere. I guess on paper it probably sounded good to the movie people that, oh, hey, there's going to be car chases, lots of explosions, post-apocalypse. We're going to have a kid with a robot arm, and we're going to have an astronaut. I'm sure it sounded great on paper, but unfortunately, there just wasn't a great script to go with it. Yeah, that's really all I have to say. There's not a lot to say about this movie. But anyway, thanks. Back to net. KB9, SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. And you came through perfectly fine that time. There were no dropouts, nothing. So whatever you did, fixed it. Brenda, you got anything else you want to add to our fine film? Please go ahead from KE5I6.
Well, the movie was, this is WE50ZL. The music was abhorrent. I think Alien and Trash ought to get married and hyphenate their names as one last name. I think that would be fitting. They kind of deserve each other. There are a lot of people in this movie that are very nice. So what happened to humanity along the way? You got the boy is about the only really good person in the movie on the whole. That mechanic turned out to be okay, but he wasn't in the beginning. But he did redeem himself. But I wouldn't want to live in a society like that where everybody's just trying to kill each other all the time. That's not my idea of fun. Let's see, what else? Costumes were okay. They were predictable. And, I take Tom's point about the cops. But there's just two. What were they enforcing? I don't know. And it seemed like a lot of these people were dedicated to mindless, pointless violence. Just violence for its own sake. And, that to me, that's not very entertaining. All right, I'm going to stop there. WB50ZL.
Okay, very good. I don't really have anything else to add. It was, as I said, there were long stretches of dialogue that was just repeats over and over again and things. So I think I fell asleep a couple of times during this fine film. I don't know what else to say. All right, let me see here. Let me tell you what's coming up next. I found what the movie we were supposed to see this week was called Le Jeté. And that's a French science fiction film. It's a short subject film. And when I went to go find it to double check if it was there, it wasn't. So I quickly changed the movie. Well, guess what happened? I found it again on a different platform. So, and that's not to say I didn't go looking for it after the link was missing. I did go looking for it. I couldn't find it, and then it suddenly appeared out of nowhere. So, this one is a little different. This one's on YouTube. So you'll have to follow the instructions. It is in French, of course. It's a very unusual film. In fact, it is the inspiration for 12 Monkeys as a short movie. So you'll see that. There's some scenes in there where, if you're familiar with 12 Monkeys, that towards the end of this film, you'll see 12 Monkeys sort of in it. But it is available. You can find it on Afterglow Movie on YouTube. And also I will send it out tomorrow with the information. But if you want to see it with the English subtitles, you're going to have to manually use the auto-generated English part that is built into YouTube. I looked at it. It looks pretty good. I think it will do a pretty good job doing the translation. So next week's movie will be Le Jetée from 1962, kind of a cult classic, I guess, by Chris Marker. Really fun, really interesting. And it's really short, too. It's only about 30 minutes long, so you don't have to invest a lot of time. Well, that's it from me. Anybody got any comments or any late check-ins? Please come with your call. Okay, well, we'll wrap this one up early. We'll see y'all. Happy New Year, and have a great one. Tomorrow, New Year's Eve, and then New Year's itself. We'll see you again this time next week, hopefully with a few more people. I think we will. So this is KE5 ICX, clear. See y'all later. Bye.